Hello, everybody, and welcome into our first News and Rumors video here at the Hockey Writers YouTube channel. We've had News and Rumors, general ones, but we're going to be doing these throughout the season for specific teams and stuff like that. So we're going to go with the Toronto Maple Leafs in this one. Peter, of course, is always connected to the Maple Leafs, and he's on this video to start this video series we're going to be doing throughout the season. Peter, how's it going?
It's going great. Yeah, I mean, we're well past the halfway point of the preseason now, and there's still no shortage of topics to talk about right now with the Maple Leafs. So, yeah, we're getting down to the wire. Still battles up for grabs, and big contract was just announced recently. So happy to be on here to talk about that too.
All right. Well, let's kick it off with that, and that just happened. Basically, what is it? A few, maybe like
a couple hours ago, really,
half an hour ago. Anthony Stolarz signing a 4-year extension. And I mean, this comes on the heels Joseph Woll being out. He is pretty much the de facto starter right now. We'll talk maybe later about the PTO that was signed. But what do you think about this extension? It's not overly big money, $15 million in total. What do you think about it?
Yeah, tidy piece of work from general manager Brad Treliving with this. And there were a lot of rumors and talks about like what his contract could be like, upwards of just over 4.5, 5 kind of thing. Was it going to be term? Was it going to be the money factor? There was always talks that especially recently, that they wanted to get something done. And even Elliotte Friedman during one of the broadcasts said that they were working hard towards an extension and both sides were still talking. And lo and behold, earlier this morning, more info came out about that something should get done sooner or something's getting something done sooner rather than later. And then, before we came on, there was a 4-year extension finalized, $3.75 million. And, obviously the Maple Leafs don't have that luxury of having a star-studded goaltender like you do a Connor Hellebuyck, Jake Ottinger, Jeremy Swayman kind of thing. But to have, just under $8 million, I think it's about $7.4 million to 2 goalies for the next 3 to 4 years, where they can be a serviceable tandem when they're healthy, is a really good deal for the Maple Leafs. Again, it just goes to show that you don't need possibly that one star-studded guy, but if you have both that could rotate back and forth every now and then, save that energy for the playoffs. With Stolarz does go on a playoff run, and lo and behold, that was the case last season before he got injured. Who knows what can happen? And if it's under $4 million, that's just great for them. It gives them a lot more wiggle room to do something further down the line and in the foreseeable future. The salary cap's going up in for free agency, or they have enough cap space to probably work with something to bring in another name with that little extra space that's Stolarz, basically took a discount on. So it's great in the short term. Like in this 3-4 years, this is like a good window for them to try and build on that. There's not a whole lot of expectations given the value of this. It's 3.75. They know that this is what you're worth. Go out there, do what you need to do, because he does have that lack of experience as a starter a little bit last year, but let's see if he can take that step further this time around.
Well, I mean, I know there was talk about him wanting to look. They were looking at Lankinen's recent extension too. He came underneath that number. Lankinen was at 4.5. So, I mean, that's, it's pretty good. I mean, it's not a lot less, but I mean, it's still a good number. It's not, and 4 years is not a bad term either, right? So I mean, and Joseph Woll, I mean, you assume he's going to be coming back at some point this season. It's up in the air right now, but we'll see how that all goes. And it's a good segue into the preseason roster battles, which does involve that. I mean, Stolarz is, of course, the starter, but you've got now Dennis Hildeby and, of course, the PTO with James Reimer returning to the team. We'll see if he does sign an actual contract. But what do you think? We'll start there with the roster battles in the crease.
Yeah, it definitely is going to be a battle because, Dennis Hildeby does look promising in what he's done in the preseason so far. And even the prospect turn, I don't think he was at the prospect tournament. I think it was just between him or Artur Akhtayamov and Vyacheslav Peksa rotating back and forth. But I do like what I've seen from Hildeby this time around. I've seen more poise and calmness in the crease where he's not as overly aggressive this time around. And I just go back to the 7-2 game against the Montreal Canadiens where there's a sequence where he faced 3 really good chances on the power play, and he stood tall. He's already got the size. He's got the frame. If he had that tendency to just not be over aggressive at times, that would be perfect. I think he cemented himself as a possible backup for this team. And like you mentioned, they did sign James Reimer to PTO. Obviously, he's got a little bit more veteran experience. But to me, I think it's just one of that placeholder things where I feel like if they give Hildeby another look, I think that he's going to be the guy to be behind Anthony Stolarz. This is a team that's lacked homegrown talent in net. So why not use that to your advantage? It's nothing against Reimer or anything. It's just I feel like there's a little bit more upside with Hildeby. Yeah, Reimer has the experience. He's a bit of a veteran as well. I just feel like Hildeby has done more to this point to develop and gain more of an opportunity than to bring in Reimer. And again, it's a PTO. You don't know if he's going to sign it or not. And he could be a placeholder for Joseph Woll. You never know. And there could be that, hesitancy to Hildeby where maybe he does revert back to some of his old tendencies and habits, but I just don't see that. I feel like everyone is going to say or give the edge to Reimer because of that, and it makes sense, but I'm in the corner of Dennis Hildeby. I feel like he's come a long way from last season to now, and what we've seen in a short or small sample size in the preseason, I think could benefit him this time.
I think so too. I mean, you're looking at Tamanov, but he looked really good in the preseason so far as well. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know if he has a real chance to get the job, but I think Hildeby's probably the front runner. We'll see, but Stolarz is going to get a lot more, time this season, I think, than what he did last season. Hopefully, he stays healthy because when he got hurt, he was playing really well.
He was,
and it really was unfortunate that he had to sit out for so long after that too. All right, other roster battles you're looking at. A big one is the top line with Auston Matthews. Gotten a few auditions there, Max Domi, and of course Matias Maccelli. That is a big battle. We talked about in the season preview show about replacing Mitch Marner and stuff like that. It looks like Maccelli has that big opportunity. What do you think about that roster battle throughout training camp, preseason so far?
Yeah, and let's face it, Maccelli is going to be no Marner. I mean, let's call a spade. But you have to be impressed with what you've seen so far in 2 games. He basically had 4 assists in 4 periods, and that to me, one of those games was with Matthews. He did get an assist on Matthews' first goal of the preseason. The other ones were secondary assists, and the second game was where he was not playing with Auston Matthews. So this kind of shows that, Maccelli has played to a high level standard of play for himself, where he doesn't play along the star-studded player like he did against the Montreal Canadiens, but he did show to elevate that with Auston Matthews. So he does have that experience where he can play on his own and play well with the players around him, as well as those star-studded guys. So I think that Maccelli has done a good job so far to put himself into that front runner role over Max Domi. Then again, Max Domi, he was dealing with an injury. There was a loss in his family as well. I will say that, again, I do like what Max Domi brings. He does have good numbers playing alongside Matthews, but it's sort of those extracurricular activity things where he can, get a penalty of something that's kind of useless. You don't need to do. I think that could hinder the top line, where I think Maccelli just brings that skill. He brings that speed. He brings that, never give up mindset when he's battling for the puck or trying to regain possession. So I think that obviously it all comes down to Craig Berube. He is the head coach. I'm not. If he chooses to go with Max Domi, that's great. It's just he needs to shoot more. He needs to be a little bit more tempered with his emotions kind of thing. But I've been impressed with Maccelli. I really like the speed that he brings. I really like the fact that he's an energizer bunny where his feet is always moving, and that could play a factor for the top line, which was evident in one of the games that he's played.
And another battle is pretty much the bottom 6. There's a bit of a log jam there with David Kampf and Calle Jarnkrok. Jarnkrok's they've both been in the lineup at times. Where do you see that going? I mean, can they keep all those guys in the lineup? Of course, they're going to have to make a decision on a few guys there. Do you see those two starting the season with the Maple Leafs?
I think Calle Jarnkrok has a better chance than David Kampf because of the fact that the Maple Leaf center is already, the center roles are already done. You already have Matthews, you already have Tavares in the top 6. Nicholas Robertson looked good on that third line with Dakota Joshua. So there's that feeling out process where they're going to be that third line. And Scott Laughton and Steven Lorentz looked good as a fourth liner. Even Easton Cowan, I think he looked good with a short sample size along them in the 2 games that he's played with them. So where does that leave David Kampf? He's basically on the outside looking in. I mean, you've seen Scott Laughton elevate his play, and he said flat out said that he was not happy with how his performance as a Maple Leaf started last year. What does he do? 4-point game. Nicholas Robertson, he looked really strong in board battles. He was very simplistic with his style of play. Is David Kampf, aside from just being a faceoff guy and PK guy, enough to stay in or come into the lineup? I don't know. I think he's on the outside looking in. And, you know, there were always rumblings that the Maple Leafs are trying to move on from a guy like David Kampf, like Calle Jarnkrok as well. But I really like Jarnkrok. I think he still provides that speed and energy that could be inserted into the lineup. I think he would vault over David Kampf as sort of like a 13th forward as well. I think Kampf could be a 14, 15 guy. But even then, you know, there's still some internal competition. Like I mentioned, Easton Cowan, he looked good in the 2 games that he's played with 2 mainstays in Lawrence and Laughton. There's also the possibility of what's going to happen with Nick Robertson. He had a good start. He's kind of fallen off. He can't afford that because consistency has been an issue for him. So if those 2 or 3 guys out of that group makes the roster, I think it's going to be more so Calle Jarnkrok. I think that Robertson can't find that consistency, and David Kampf, he's just fallen out of the lineup, that there are better players at this point to be inserted into the lineup. So obviously, once they figure out their roster, they're going to have to look at making moves. Even if they just accrue draft picks, they don't have a whole lot in 2026. If they could get another third, a couple more, maybe if they could package Robertson up and get a second out of it, great. That'll be perfect. You get a little bit more draft capital, but just feels like Calle Jarnkrok out of those 3 guys kind of feels like he has a little bit more upside and impact than those 2. And that's not to say that Robertson can't. It's just a consistency factor. And we all know how Craig Berube has basically wanted to push him and get a little bit more out of him. It just hasn't been there.
Yeah, he's been a storyline every training camp, it seems like, for the last, 3 or 4 years?
3-4 years where he's had the opportunity to run away with it, and he does. But come regular season time, you know, you get the mixed results.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. It seems like his time is running out. Where how many chances he keeps getting? He keeps getting those 1-year deals, and he stays around. But I think at one point there's going to be a trade, and we'll see if that happens soon here. In terms of other standouts, see anyone else stand out in the preseason so far? Any surprising guys that are kind of, maybe at the beginning of training camp, preseason, you weren't kind of looking at, but now, I mean, maybe not particularly maybe making the team, but someone that's really impressed you so far?
Yeah, I've been impressed with Ben Danford. I mean, coming into camp, he did have a good prospect showing or a prospect showcase tournament coming in, where, you know, the defense is already set, but he got into the lineup where, you know, he was with the actual makeup of the defense for the Maple Leafs with all the veterans, and he got into a game with them, and he didn't look out of place. You know, he was very calm. He was obviously his game is very simplistic. You know, he's very effective on breakouts. He gets in the lanes, blocks pucks, exits the zones effectively. I think that this is a big stepping stone for him, where he was able to get the praise of Berube, which is a good sign. If you're able to do that, then your development is on the right path. Now, it's going to take some time for him to get to the Maple Leafs lineup, but, you know, he has to feel good about that. There's no roster spot for him now, but I like what I've seen so far from him. I've mentioned Dennis Hildeby. I think he's probably the front runner for that backup role right now, when Joseph Woll comes back as well. Easton Cowan, I've been impressive with him. I think he's going to, I feel like he does make the team. Again, it's going to be in a bottom 6 role, but this is on him to try and work his way up a little bit more. And again, that game against the Montreal Canadiens, he was extremely effective with that line. And that forechecking, puck hounding mindset is always a main factor to his game, and that's what's going to make him successful.
Yeah, I think there was always talk that Calle was going to maybe make it into the top 6 and stuff like that, but that doesn't seem to be the case. I mean, he might get some time up there throughout the season if he does make the team. But I think, I do agree. I think he's probably going to be a bottom 6 guy. And he hasn't looked out of place in the preseason. He's looked like an NHL player. So, I mean, we'll see where he kind of slots in throughout. The defense, I mean, there's not really any roster battles there. It's that bottom part. Where do you see that? I mean, there's a few veterans down there. Any other storylines? So kind of, we haven't talked about the defense. Is there something kind of in there?
I think the main headline going in is still Morgan Rielly. I mean, he did come in a little bit lighter. He did lose some weight. Again, they had a candid talk, both, him, coach, GM, about his performance last year, and it was below expectations. And coming in, it feels like they need to rely on him a little bit more to be more productive on the back end. And obviously, Rielly has said that he wasn't happy about that. The whole talk coming out is public, so everyone knows that they had that conversation, which is very well known, and that's something you really don't see behind closed doors kind of thing. So the fact that it's out there, I think he really took at the heart, and he wants to make a big impact. He's got an opportunity on the top power play unit, and he does look a little bit quicker, but the decision making is still kind of lacking. It kind of feels like it's still a step behind, where maybe, is it going to be him on the power play as a top quarterback, or is it going to be Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who can get pucks on net, a little bit more quicker with the movement, and he has that experience there as well. So it is, I will say this, he does look more comfortable with Brandon Carlo as his partner. I feel like that's another player that needed to take a big step forward, because he looked good, didn't look good at times last season. I think that having that shutdown presence, that two-way player in Brandon Carlo, could help Morgan Rielly a little bit more, be a little bit more active. Then again, the reads have got to be better to not get out of position in terms of, odd man rushes and everything like that. So I think the biggest question mark this season is going to be Morgan Rielly. Can he get to a level that's a little bit more productive, where you're going to get a little bit more goals? Obviously, the assists are there, but he needs to shoot the puck a little bit more. And I think that's going to be the main headline coming in, because we know what to expect with Jake McCabe and Chris Tanev. OEL, we know he's got some bite. Simon Benoit, he's been dealing with something, but, he's been an underrated factor for the Maple Leafs defense right now. And, aside from that, I just really can't see anything else in terms of storylines for the defense right now.
Yeah, I mean, the defense is pretty much set. They're saying that basically it's the same defense as they ended last season, except Brandon Carlo gets a full season with the team. So I think, the defense isn't bad. I mean, it's probably a pretty good one. It's where all the battles are in the forward group. And we'll see how it's kind of a logjam at that bottom part, like we were saying. So we'll see how it all kind of plays out at the end of the preseason, and what roster does start the season with the Maple Leafs, and if any moves do happen. Of course, we'll talk about those moves if that does, probably towards the end of the preseason there. We'll have another video and we'll talk about that, unless something big happens in between then. But thanks, Peter, for coming on and talking Maple Leafs and the buzz going around. And it's always fun to see what happens in preseason, but thanks for coming on and talking Maple Leafs.
No problem. Anytime, Matt.
All right. Well, and make sure to check out everything at thehockeyarts.com. We've got all season preview content. All the season preview videos are out there. Lots of stuff coming out during the preseason, recaps, takeaways, all that fun stuff. So check all that out. And of course, our Substack newsletters, which are free. You can take a look at those. Keep you up to date with all the articles that are coming out the Hockey Writers with Maple Leafs content. So take a look at that. But until our next News and Rumors video, we will see you next time.